Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Today is an incredible insight for the Taoist seeker. We go over all things related to the power and magic of mirror magic, of the Tao Te Ching, how incredibly empowering that is as a Taoist seeker, all the effects of your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual journey, and how that represents itself in day-by-day moments. And don't forget to stay to the end of the podcast for a very powerful transmission from the Jade Emperor, opening your very center point, your heart. Enjoy the podcast. Sound, silence, rippling, echoing the now. Breathe in, breathe out. Let that saturate your body, mind, and spirit. All rivers return to the ocean. Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. My divine, delectable co-host, High Priestess Jadis.
Hello.
Howdy, howdy, doody. And I'm your humble servant and seafood, Taoist Master San Qing. Hit me with your best shot. Oh, yeah. This seems to be the plaguing, reoccurring thoughts of the Taoist seeker. We have very much a solidified, fortified path of awareness that comes with the Taoist path, the Taoist cultivation, the Taoist realization. And here today is your step-by-step guide to realizing you're having one of those moments. Aha. It doesn't get any clearer than when you are in that, what seems to be a physical response, a psychological diss. Because what happens is physically knowing and understanding that the very essence of all things is now. You're all and nothing at the same time. And to create that awareness, you must get your taste. You must have your moment that makes you reveal or peel back what some would call the veil. That you identify there is so much more than what you perceive is this reality.
Mm-hmm.
And esoteric occultism, deeper mystical realization comes with the Taoist seeker's path. If you look, you will find, I think the most perplexing understanding of this is when we speak of the bellows, which is all things. The mother. The mother is everything and nothing at the same time. And that bellows is representative of the constant that is the Tao.
Mm-hmm.
And how you can replicate that, which brings us to the all-powerful Mirror magic. Taoist 101, baby. Now, within mirror magic, there is an understanding. And the most complex, confusing misinformation, disinformation, redirection is the Taoist realization of this. And so, understanding this pulsating, symbiotic relationship that you have with all things, you're all and nothing at the same time. It now ponders the pause for the Taoist seeker as they're tiptoeing in the center line of the intellect and the intuitive, and understanding that that center point is the answer to all things, the Wu Ji, baby. And when you get there, oh yeah, feel that chill. Let it run, let it rule, let it have you find your path, your knowing. So what you might find mysterious about a Taoist seeker's path is that when you believe you are a loner, a nomad, which is a general consensus of most Taoists, is this realization that you are actually in servitude. You are selfless. You get that taste that you cannot put your finger on, but you are whole in that very moment. And that's the selflessness that comes with that center point. And when you get a taste, baby, ain't no turning back. You are chasing that, because the more you hit that center line, the more full you are. I don't feel as though, I know this. There has been this elitist spiritual, basically delusion that has been going on for quite some time, well before I entered the social media sphere. And it's this kind of, I'm going to just say it, an absurd delusion that comes with being in the intellect, which you'll find that, generally speaking, if you come across someone who claims to be a Taoist, they're very much in their head. And this is why you're here with Jade and I today, because it doesn't resonate with you. This path of absolute, this path of almost misery peddling, this path of realizing that you must find pain in everything, which is more replicative of a Buddhist path. And so there tends to be people that hijack Taoism, and they either permeate it with this idea that it's overshadowed by some Confucianism isms or other variables that don't even reflect the truth of Taoism in of itself. A Taoist path is very clear. You're all and nothing at the same time. The simplicity of that comes from the very mirror magic that is embedded deep within what we call the magical register, the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching. It feeds back to you the very true essence of who you are. And each incantation is a slither of that facet of the diamond, perfection. And when you embody that, which is absolutely impossible not to, especially within the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching that has been handed to us through our lineage, through our relationship with Lao Tzu, as I have on a second-by-second basis, it's visceral. the kinesthetic response is undeniable. Your nervous system will say, "What the fuck?" You won't have a choice but to surrender to the true nature of who you are. Because the second you embody on that path, it is self-evident that self-realization will speak to you through the visceral somatic response. Because whether you speak it audibly or inaudibly, it will resonate through your very core, right down to a subatomic level. Oh yeah, baby.
It's like taking that self-realization serum, the truth serum, except this is the knowing who you really are serum.
Right, right. And I think what I'm noticing with this hijacking, and now we're on this path. Oh yeah, Jeffu, you said it before. Yeah, you're back. Yeah. You and Jade come in every 2 weeks and go, "We're back, baby."
That's what time is for us right now.
Hey, you know what? When you are the master void of time and space,
It happens.
it's now, baby. And we are back, and we are about to blow the lid off. And so I get so many people from around the world that seek servitude in the form of training as a student, as a disciple within my teaching, Jade and I's teaching, from our teachers, from our lineages. And I must tell you, it always remains the same. I never came across Taoism in a way that you share it with the world, Jeffu, that resonates with me. And I've had students that have traveled around the world to many Taoist temples, and they're shunned, they're shut out. There's this trickling effect of, very limited access to the truth because it comes in that visceral form. If you're thinking you are not knowing, if you're knowing you are feeling, that is self-evident. My very words, as they resonate through your physical body, as I speak to you right now, whether it's this moment, in the future, in the past, you will be exposed to the true nature of who you are, because you won't be able to put it down. That resonation will start to percolate. That frequency will start to vibrate. That vibration will be evident in the creation, the co-creation that you have from light to wave to matter to particle. And as we go down the scale, we go up the scale. And that's why. But Jeffu, you went backwards from resonance to frequency to damn straight I did, because we are all and nothing at the same time, baby. And so when you get that charge you got through your spine, we call it the Tai Chi pole, right here, right now, is this self-evidence. So let's get down with the get down.
It always, I was just going to say, it always makes me think of like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, where he like appears here and then he appears over here and his words turn into smoke. And it very much feels like that energetic moment when he's speaking, that type of feeling.
Right. And that realization, that's why Taoist alchemy practices are second to none, because you get that symbiotic relationship. It all comes together at once. Visual, audible, all creating that kinesthetic visceral response. And so, gone are the days. We'll be holding workshops as of next month all the way through the end of the year, with co-creation with guests, with our own online stuff, in person. It's all happening in the next 4 or 5 months of this year, and including continual, ongoing, weeklies as of now to the end of time.
What is time?
There is no. So, listen, this is the perplexing part that people get turned off by. They see some dusty old guy who claims to be a master and says, if you sit and listen to me and hop on one foot and eat one grain of rice and follow my guidance, unquestioned, unfeathered, this is a part of the Taoist seeker. You will realize it's not about questioning the now. It's not about questioning the actual gateway, the center point, the Wu-Chi that reveals this to you. You will know it. You will not have to ask the question of if, when, where, or how. Right. You'll know it's now. That's why you're listening to me right now. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a situation where you have someone who claims to have the gateway, who claims to have the insight, who claims to have the very system, they keep you in the dark. They keep you, look, I want to remove this because it's dangerous to you. I don't want to tell you the final part of the incantation because it will have overwhelming ramifications. I don't want to tell you because you're not ready. Understand this. If you're here right now, you are a Taoist seeker. Mm-hmm. You are ready. You are now. You are all things. And so I have this question, and people, if they have to alter themselves, and it always comes in this form of, I'm ready, Jifu, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a commitment. And there's always some type of commitment that comes in various forms, whether it comes in the form of this energy we call fiat, whether we call it financial commitment. But there is this entry level that comes with your path. And if you're questioning that, you are still in the intellect. Mm-hmm. There's too many variables that don't validate it for you. Because when you know, you know. There is no time, space that would affect your path, period. That means that all things material become irrelevant because you understand you're right there and you embody it. You move with it. You breathe with it. You are the mother. And what happens is you get this taste. You hear our conversation. Holy moly, it's visceral. Mm-hmm. I'm experiencing it. That's your knowing right there. And so when people become conflicted and they have to now justify their position or alter their state, you are experiencing the contraction. Understand this, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. Everything is a bellows. Man is not like that. And so when you identify with this flesh and blood, this basically reflection in the mirror that you looks back at you as you are an identity, as you are a form of what you perceive as your personality, you will be limited. And that's why you're listening to this conversation right now. And so all this falls away. All this becomes basically self-evident, irrelevant, non-existent. And with that, you move through and embody. And so what are the effects of that self-realization? Well, because you are now entering into the knowing, which is the feeling, all things will be provided. All things will be given. Because contracting and expanding, identifying with this present moment, there is no resistance. You access Wu Wei, baby, which is effortless action, flow.
Mm-hmm.
And that flow will be realized. The very point of entry is how you access all the things that you desire within here. It moves from here to here. And so all of a sudden, hang on a second, by given the method, by given the deeper understanding, which basically bleeds into all rivers return to the ocean, baby. You know that I am whole. You know you have returned. You know you are now. And that's where people go, oh, Jeffu, I get it. Because, human beings have this cycle that is part of and this is a great way to identify where you're at in your own journey. Are you conflicted between the intellect and the intuitive? Are you conflicted within the now and the mortality, which is what you perceive as you? Because the truth is, when you access the mother, all bets are off. That's the path of the Taoist seeker, is to cultivate this physical representation so that you can emulate the immortality. And it comes in that self-evident form by saturating the physical flesh, saturating the 50 trillion cells, having your commandeering maestro ability to move the energy in any direction you want, not tapping into your life force, which makes you limited, because your life force is the mother. Your life force is not what you perceive as your physical flesh and blood. And when that center point is realized, when you realize this, all of a sudden, you become abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. And so what does that mean? That means that it's reflected in every facet of what you perceive as the now. Now, I had a dear friend of mine, Tom Campbell, and I had our part 2 podcast the other day, which will be released momentarily, probably at the end of the week. And we got down with it, and we started to get deeper on the esoteric stuff, for Tom being a master of both the intellect and the intuitive. And, we had great insight, reflecting on Taoist understanding within everything I teach people directly from Lao Tzu, the Yellow Emperor, Jade Emperor, highest purity, Jade purity, supreme purity, being the ambassadors of the mother, which is the now. Now, what we got to was this interesting conversation. And, I mean, he's a spring chicken, just as I am, but he's been in the game a few more clicks than me. And we call it the game because his identification of this experience is a virtual one. And I don't mind referring to it as that, because you are the master keeper creator of your reality. Now, if I was talking to my 12-year-old son, it could be Mario Maker number 2, or moreover, we are mastering the now. And once you get into that flow, baby, all bets are off. So there's zero resistance. So Tom and I always go for 2-3 hour clicks. This last one was basically 3 hours. And we went into the conversation of understanding how to be now. And that, there is zero physical representation of being tired, of being mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted, which is always the red flag and telltale sign of a seeker that is falling into this mortality, is falling into this misdirection, the distraction of the emotions to attach yourself to this physical body, right? And so we spoke very in depth on that, and I'll briefly go over it here. And I always remind all the seekers that this is so very, a very clear message for your journey as a Taoist seeker, to start to realize that alchemical processes is the answer to the now. It is the answer. And that's why Taoism is so sought after and treasured by, many that are given the access, as Jade and I give people the insight to remember who they are through these ancient practices. And they're self-evident. They're not a figment of your imagination. They're not something where you're talking about it to all ends and you're reading about it and you're thinking about it, which is the first red flag.
Mm-hmm.
It just becomes effortless.
Absolutely. It's like when you imagine something that you love doing, and when you love doing it in that moment, you don't think about any of the obstacles that somebody else might see. Reflecting on me as a teenager, I used to play soccer, and in the summer right now, we'd always go on tournaments. And looking back on it now, I'm like, how did I play 4 games in 2 days, 90-minute games in 112 degree weather? But I loved it. It was everything. I never looked at it in that moment. I was about the now. I never looked at it oh my God, I'm hot. Oh my goodness. I'm dehydrated. I'm exhausted. I've played so many this or that. It was that love for what I was doing in that moment was the only thing I could see. I was blinded and obsessed and so immersed in it. Nothing else existed. And, when you reflect back on something like that, you're like, wow, I had that was that glimpse, that was that moment. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I just enjoyed it so much and loved it so much that everything else around me didn't matter, didn't exist, wasn't important. It was that moment.
Right. And this is how you get started, right? And that's why when we say emulating, right? When I've shared with you a very powerful incantation from the Jade Emperor, and I love to use it in podcasts and things of that nature because it's a great seed of a starting point. So let me remind the many or the few that pick up what I'm putting down, and as it comes right from this most powerful seed of that realization, a power abundant in its giving you will receive, unifying the body with the spirit with the energy, bringing heaven to earth, transcending all is one, one is all, revealing perfection manifest. That is your gift, that is your offering. That is your gift, that is your offering. That is your gift, that is your offering. Now let that resonate as it did, percolate, oscillate up and down your spine, your Tai Chi pole, feed everything. That incredible resonating chill, that visceral expansion of your very knowing is what is seeded from that incantation. The magic is accumulated from all dimensions, and it is saturated into your physical flesh, and it is a self-evident realization of now, and it shows itself to you. You're able to experience it. You're an experiencer as a Taoist seeker, and we refer to unifying the body with the spirit with the energy, the reflection of the mirror magic that we speak of, is the bellows, is the contracting and expanding. You are all things and nothing at the same time. Oh, yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so that emulating effect reveals itself in the Wu Wei, the effortless action that is the now. And so when you embody a moment that you have your groove, you become a co-creator with the mother, it's just, you're void of time and space.
Yeah.
Everything is effortless. Everything is seamless. Everything is abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, you go, oh my goodness, I remember that moment. Just as Jade expressed and shared her personal journeys. You all have that moment. That is the self-evident realization. And so, how do I get back there, Jefu? Well, funny you asked that question. Because this is the method, the Nigong, the Nidan, the internal alchemy, the internal power that is generated from the method that makes it palpable, that makes it realized, that makes it repeatable. And that's what's most important, is that you can get a taste and then you are the flow. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, anything is possible. Mm-hmm. And this is self-evident manifestation, magic healing. And this is why people always seek this. So, as I referred to earlier in this podcast, is this miserable, dusty, old, ratty version of this manipulated realm of man.
Yeah.
Idea. It's an idea. And please don't be subject to it. It's this miserable seeker's path of isolating yourself out in a cave somewhere and reflecting on yourself as a human being and looking for the answer to the Tao. Mm-hmm. And this is what I believe a lot of people tend to be turned off to, is this sort of version. And it comes in the form of some sanctimonious, self-righteous archetype that is, oh my goodness, another one, another Taoist master, oh, please bang my head against the wall. And so many people tend to gravitate to the message that Jade and I are sharing about you returning to yourself, because it reveals this truth, the truth that you have, your knowing. Your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with. And so when that comes up, all this other nonsense, and I'll just say, Jefu, but you're a Taoist priest. How could you say that? Listen, let's split hairs here. Yo, I'm an OG up in here. And none of this, it's all just, basically broken words, broken thoughts that never materialize because you are not given the path that is very clear. And for us, we can show you and sample that just through our very now. Mm-hmm. And you can experience it in a podcast, in any of our material. And it will be self-evident to you. And you'll be like, oh my goodness, holy moly, this is really happening. Mm-hmm. What you talk about, Willis? Mm-hmm. And so...
Yeah, I was just going to say, we get so many people who comment too, and they go, oh, I watched an hour and a half or 2 hour podcast and it felt like 5 minutes. Or I can't believe you just started and then you fit, how did that go by so fast? They're in that now, watching it with us, going through it with us.
Right. And it's like Oliver Twist. You want more, boy? Yes, sir. May I have another? More? Yeah. And that chill you got when I said that is This is the rippling effect, the emulated effect. Because you are now everything and nothing at the same time, the misdirection, the misconception, the delusion is that when you're at your lowest, you think you're at your lowest. No, you're actually at your highest. And what happens is when you feed the mother the reflection, which you are a reflection of that, the mother reveals herself to you, and you return home to who you really are. And that servitude, that selflessness, is where you realize, I thought I was some self-absorbed asshole. Because a lot of these spiritual seekers within a Taoist path, I must go and find myself on this lonely path in the middle of nowhere and find some type of space where I can be alone with myself. This is the misconception. This is the misdirection. This is the delusion that comes with the people that are in their intellect that feed this Taoist propaganda. Yeah, I said it. And this is what happened. This is the broken misdirection that comes with a lot of the Taoist information that's out there that tends to put you in this path where, oh my goodness, oh, this is painful. Or they want to be punished by never having it revealed to them. They feel as though they're never worthy of this very moment. They're never worthy of being whole. And the Taoist master is holding it back from them. Well, they are. The truth is they don't have a freaking clue what they're talking about. And so you'll find that. Go through all the material, and there's this self-righteous, sanctimonious sort of like elitism that comes with, I am a Taoist. Follow me. I am looking at all things, and I will show you the path to enlightenment. And you see it, and you go, or really, is that all I got? And until Jade and I turned up on social media, that was all they got. But, guys, I've been doing this biologically for over 30 years now, on a conscious level for thousands of years. And we bring it, baby. And so this is why you're here going, real, recognize real, baby. Because that is the truth. And so you stop your path of not knowing, and you embody that now. And so it comes in many forms. You'll find it throughout our social media platform, how you can get started on this very path. And we will show you, because your cultivation, this is not like a physiological achievement. Be very clear. The body is limited. Remind the man mortality is real. To obtain immortality, you must be able to realize. Because this is always steeped deep within the scripture, deep within the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching, the magical register. It is the emulator of the mother. And you become that. You become that. That's part of the mirror magic. That's part of the deeper knowing that comes with the visceral experience of the Tao Te Ching. And moreover, when you experience our Tao Te Ching, which was transcribed from Lao Tzu just recently, and we published it, you will feel it. I can feel it now. The rain is gone. I think I've got those lyrics incorrect, but you know what I'm talking about. You're picking up what I'm putting down. And so this is always the, manual to a Taoist realization. And it goes off in many facets. we refer to the alchemy, we go direct to the source. We use the Yellow Emperor's ancient training, the very limited stuff that's revealed through what people perceive as the Yellow Emperor's canon is limited, if not plagiarized, and things are just, there's so much missing. I just go straight to the Yellow Emperor and get him to give me what's necessary, and you enhance the rituals that are from our lineages. But, it becomes self-evident because you will feel it.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Always remember that. The feeling is the answer. Mm. The feeling is your now moment. And you will get twisted when you make the fundamental error of perceiving yourself as the physical flesh. You will extend and defy what someone calls a biological timeline of a human being once you come to this realization. And so, getting back to Tom and I's conversation, we went deep on that. And he does exactly the same thing. He can be up on a podium, and he's a spring chicken. He's, young, ripe old age, young as a 21-year-old. He's 80. Mm-hmm. And to his own admission and through own experiences with him personally, we can be present and in the now, and hours go by. And we're more supercharged by the end of the experience because that's tapping into the mother. That's the now moment. When you tap into your physical body, the self-evidence will be, I am tired, I'm exhausted. Oh my goodness, I'm around a bunch of psychic vampires. Well, this comes with a lot of misdirection. This comes with the emotional content. This comes with you being subject to the dualistic experience of what you perceive as a 3D reality. Because with that polarizing effects is the limitations of the electromagnetic spectrum. And you'll realize that it'll be like, well, how do I define that, Jifu? Go through your day and examine exactly, remember, listen to this, guys, how you feel. Mm-hmm. And you'll be like, oh, words come to mind. It was hard. It was long. It was miserable. I'm grateful it's over. Oh, there's always another day. And this comes with this sort of limited perspective of staying in the contraction over the expansion, because you experience all of it and none of it at the same time. The most powerful thing that you have is the now. That means that you have choices, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies. And the more and more you choose the mother, guess what happens? You return home. You return to who you really are. And it becomes self-evident by how you feel. And it comes in a mental, emotional, and physical form. And these are just part of the trappings of this experience in 3D. As you're standing, be very clear. If you're experiencing 3D, you perceive it that way. Understand you're already standing in the fourth dimension. You're one breath away from the fifth dimension. That's where we get deep into the Nigong, the inner power. We get into Qigong, which is energy in of itself. We are talking about energy power, right? We are talking about the breath. This is moving energy with your mind, Nigong. Qigong, moving energy with your breath. That symbiotic realization is the contracting and expanding. Jifu, the bombs you're dropping right now, it's blowing my mind. You're welcome. And this is what takes place. And we will always be here as your support system to remind you who you are. And that's why cultivation is absolutely the foundation of all things within Taoist alchemy. And so the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching, is the emulator, right? So this brings us back to the mirror magic. Now you can start to get, deviations of this, but the mirror magic is so potent, and it becomes self-realized, audibly, inaudibly, and that's a starting seed for your journey. That's the starting of your realization. And furthermore, it starts to embody the very foundation that's necessary for you to be this present moment. Many people talk about this. They go, it's the now. Everything is the now. Show me. Mm-hmm. Show me exactly how I'm going to emulate that, replicate that. Because when you become the now, it, as we refer to, all rivers return to the ocean. That self-evident moment of the mother is realized with the wu-wei, effortless action. And then you fall into, what happened to my day? What happened to my week? What happened to my month? Now you're right there, baby. You're onto something, because that is the wu-ji. Mm-hmm. And that's where the secret source is created. That creation is returning to perfection. Just right back to the incantation. Your gift is your offering. So your need to be spiritual, to be isolated. Here's a great sign that you are absolutely on a red flag, on the wrong path. Isolation, right? So being removed from that now moment. You want to isolate. Isolation, deviation, delusion is where you get to oppression, depression, possession. And so, generally speaking, at that point, Jifu, I didn't realize this was happening. Well, this comes from just being emotional, right? You don't realize you're having these bouts of this very cycle of oppression, depression, possession, just through your emotional expressions on a daily basis. This part comes back to the bellows.
Yeah.
So you need to do your shadow work. Most people stay in the light. They don't realize there's darkness. Listen very clearly. Hear me, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. We are Taoists. Everything is yin and yang. Everything is perfection. There is light and dark everywhere. So within the darkness, you find the light. Within the light, you find the darkness. And guess what? It's all perfection, baby. It's all gravy. Mm-hmm. So whenever you perceive it as something that you must contract, you must be fearful of, you are being commandeered by that very knowing. And it becomes realized because, as I've reminded people, there are an infinite amount of energy, frequency, vibration. There are an infinite amount of spirits and entities. There's no question. You can conjure up the very construct of these entities and summon them using your emotional content. Don't realize that, the metaphysical, the paranormal only exists when I want it to, when I pull out my Ouija board. Mm-hmm. No, the very notion that you are being subject to that reveals it to you in different aspects of your reality. And it may be transmuted in a mental state, an emotional state, a physical state. And that is subject to the dualistic experiment of the human being. The faster we get down with the get down and realize that you are all things, that this physical body is the anchor to your simulation, your experience as a Taoist seeker, you don't get caught up in the semantics. You're able to nourish this. You're able to use this as an expander about that now moment. And when you do that, guess what happens? I'll see you at 120, 130, 150, baby. Even right now, as it stands within all the understanding of gene expression. And we're going to get into nutrition. We're going to get into exercise. We're going to get into all these things. I'm going to reveal them all right here, right now on this channel, baby. Jifu's about to get down with some old school lifting. I'm going to show you how to squat 300, 400 pounds, deadlift 300, 400 pounds with little to no prep, because this is also a misdirection, understanding how to oscillate and expand the nervous system to acquire the physicality that's necessary for you to represent immortality.
Yeah.
And that's having a deeper knowing. And so gene expression alone, anyone living and breathing right now has zero reason why their longevity potential is not 120 years. That's just with the understanding of DNA, the understanding of gene expression, understanding of epigenetics. So if you happen to be that person who's listening to this podcast right now, then all bets are off. You add the Taoist immortality practices that are handed to you by Jade and I, and we're about to get real serious up in here. And so this is a known fact within the Taoist path. This is what's part of the cultivation. And you become whole. What's the side effect, Jifu? Well, you're the ambassador to planet Earth, my dear friends. What? Your servitude will reveal itself. Your selflessness will reveal itself. You will not have to define what love is. You just are. That's the mother. And so having to dance between the shadow work and the light work is right there a separation.
Yeah.
Right? That's within Taoism. Darkness is light, light is darkness. Black and white, good and bad, up and down, it's all the same, baby. But to identify as that, there is a fearlessness that comes with not being commandeered by the oppression, depression, possession that comes with the emotional state. And even our dear friend Tom Campbell, always expresses the very catalyst to the derailing of any person is fear itself, which happens to be on the menu of your emotional content, which makes you commandeered. This is your red flag. You can instantly go, ooh, who's running the ship? As the Jade Emperor would say, all thoughts of your mind are not yours. Well, whose are they, Jifu? Where do we start, guys?
Yeah, no, and I do think whenever people do like look at the yin and yang, they always think the black and white, the good and bad. But I mean, it never in a Taoist is it good and bad. It just is. It is all things. So I think it is important for people to understand the bellows of the mother, the pulsation, the in, the out, high tide, low tide, the sun, the moon, these cycles that are so natural to the universe, the seasons, this change, this different things, but also to not look at it as this dualistic good and bad, good and evil. There never is. It's just a contraction and expansion, but it doesn't have to have a positive and a negative. And people seem to really associate with it as if that's how Taoists look at it, and that's not the case at all.
Well,
it's this acceptance. There's still a bellows of a cycle of the way things transcend in and out, but we never look at it as a good and bad. It is all, but there is a pulsation to that, and I think people like to put those two together. You know what I mean?
Well, it's realizing that you are subject to the electromagnetic spectrum, which would in turn be positive and negative, the polarizing effects. What Jade and I are sharing with you is when you access the ooey gooey center point, the Wu Ji, all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the distraction. This is part of being the ambassador. And we talk about pleasure and pain as identifies you experience one to receive the other. And this is part of the human's realization to find the Wu way, to find the effortless action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you will all of a sudden have that moment. That's why the cultivational practices are second to none. The energetics are all things. Now, you move past the veil of this electromagnetic spectrum, and we speak of this thing that quantum physicists call the 0 point, the scalar wave, things that are not of this electromagnetic spectrum, high resonance, right? Which is the resonance that is not part of the earth plane, not part of this dimension. And that's where we call the mother, the chi. This is pure source. And that's perfection. So you reveal the center point, the Wu Ji, perfection, and then all of a sudden, Wu Wei is on your menu. Wu Wei is the effortless action, the effortless effort that is your realization. And so the humanistic hetero action of a human being, meaning what you must start, you must finish, is part of subject to the polarizing effects of dualism. Mm-hmm. And there is nothing wrong with that. There's just degrees and stages. Just as, within Taoism, we have stages of this cultivational practice. The physical body, the energetic body, the spiritual body, the earth body, the moon body, the sun body, the oneness body, the ultimate body, and then being one with all things, baby. Yeah. And so these are degrees and stages of awakening, of returning to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's never a right or wrong. Referring to Jade's very clear admission, there's never a right or wrong. It's just the now. But to accept the now, to realize it, as Taoism is about accepting and allowing all things, the now. This comes with this path of cultivation, this path of realization. And that's what we're second to. There is nothing, and yes, I'm a fanboy, second to none when it comes to a Taoist path of realization, a Taoist alchemical processes of cultivation. Yeah.
And I think that's why, the Tao Te Ching is such a powerful scripture, and we refer to it as the living scripture, because you are embodying it and embracing it and feeling it in that now moment. So it encaptures this now, the present, wherever you're at that point, where you could read the same verse every day for 90 days, and each day you would pull something completely different, because it truly is that feeling of that present moment.
And what Jade is referring to is, and I always get to start my students off with the basic cycling and feeding of specific incantation. It depends on what I look at when I look at their energetic profile, is what's necessary. But for example, referring to what Jay just said, if you take an incantation from our Tao Te Ching, our Tao Te Ching, and you start embodying it, because this is part of the very essence of Taoism, is absorbing the riches, which is that symbiotic realization. That's that oscillation, that pulsating now, because you're all things and nothing at the same time, is that you experience this nourishing. So if you start the path of the Tao Te Ching as your foundation, when you read the first verse, I always offer that you spend that first verse within at least a 9 to 18 to 27 day cycle. And when you start to do that, you will start to feel so whole. This is what we call chi packing. And it's so deeply embedded into this magical register that those words spoken inaudibly, audibly, start to saturate your physical flesh. You just cannot avoid the inevitable. And so when you start to speak it, when you embody it, whether you engage with it once a day or 9 times a day or 81 times a day over that 18 to 27 day cycle, you will be mind blown by what takes place within your journey as a seeker just through that relationship. And so you return to the mother. So all of a sudden, your life becomes super effortless, and you're like, what the Jade and Jifu were not wrong. Absolutely. 1,000%. And so now it's like, okay, I got to taste Jifu. I'm in. Okay. So let's get down with the get down. It's time to cultivate. It's time to have a self-realized moment. And that magical register is one of those tools that you use to return to who you are. Oh, yeah.
And it all comes back to that feeling. And I think what people don't understand is Taoism being so ancient and so much lineage with it, that power and understanding of the Tao seeker was understood at a very, very long time ago. And, the people in control of that time or looking to control saw that power and felt very threatened. And so they went on many different campaigns, whether it be, genocide or confusion of what Taoism really was, to kind of keep that mitigated, because they knew if we were going to get any resistance of control, it was going to come from the Taoist seeker. And so that's where you get so much confusion out there of, like you said, when you type in Taoism on the internet today, you get, the hierarchy version, you get the intellectual version, you get the philosophical version, you get the internal alchemy version, which wants nothing to do with the spiritual side. So, I mean, there is very much a confusion on purpose. And when it really comes down to it, it's the feeling. You feel it. That is where you're going to get that validation of, the Taoist seeker.
Yeah, baby. So this is one of those epiphany moments for any viewer of this particular podcast, whether you're an OG, a student, a seeker, a 126er, you're going, oh yeah. You had me at hello. Because that is your realization.
Right.
And this is why it sinks so deeply for anyone that hears the spoken word of what we share to remind you of who you are. It resonates so deeply with everyone. And they're like, oh yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's exactly what it means to me. Because what happens is most people that get misdirected are the information accumulators.
Yeah.
They I need more. I need more. I need more. I need more. I'm going to try a little bit of this. I'm going to try a little bit of that. I'm going to try a little bit of this. I'm going to try a little bit of that. Emphasis on the word try, which in essence means you're going to fail. And realize that you already know who you are. And so you're not going to be misdirected. You're going to stay in that center point, the Wu Ji, and you are going to remember who you are. And through that is the cultivational practices, baby. And you are listening and realizing that all this other nonsense that you've come across within Taoism seems sort of painful and limited. And, this is where people are like, you must do your shadow work. You must feel the pain. Yeah. This in of itself is your glass half empty or full?
Yeah.
Because that's the simplicity of this. And when you come to realize that, and you stay with the glass half full, your life will be representative of that. And the flow, baby, the Wu way, will be self-evident. So, the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching, is a great starting seed for the novice, for the seeker, for anybody who's looking to level up their awareness and remember who they are. Now, what's really amazing is as you continue to progress your cultivation, that Tao Te Ching will reveal itself as the most powerful access to all things as you continue to cultivate. It will be second to none. You'll be like, holy moly, this is crazy. It's crazy.
Well, when you were talking about all the different bodies and like opening up, the sun body, the moon body, the earth body, it's like that Tao Te Ching also opens with that as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So you're reading it and you're like, wow, I didn't think I could feel this much energy. And then, you feel more and more and more because it's all this combination of it all working together in this perfect synchronicity. Oh yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. With that said, I think we're back, baby. Jeffo, you said that. No, we are. I promise you. Or this one will be fired. No, I'm just kidding.
You're fired.
With that said, any closing thoughts, feelings, and emotions with this podcast, I think has been very insightful for many, giving them a greater guidance on their own realization.
Yeah, I mean, always a remembrance, always a reminder. And again, getting back to the feeling, it's always that feeling. You know when you're doing something that you love doing, you get that feeling from it. You get those butterflies, that charge up your spine, that high, and let that guide you.
Yeah. Let that be your truth teller. And in closing, we'll take a moment and embody that symbiotic relationship that you and I have. And just by me saying that, oh, Jeffo, what happened? How come I'm feeling this heat? You're welcome. Because that's part of the journey. That's part of your self-realization and remembering who you are and how powerful you are as the mother.
Yes.
Because that is the now. It's no place, person, or thing. It's the now. And that journey will continue to expand itself from the all and nothing that is the Wu Ji. And with that, I'm going to be very simplistic and basically end with a very powerful prayer that will ripple through your very essence. As I take a moment and embody that with the essence of Jade Emperor as he enters the space now. You reveal the information, as I am the keeper of all things, all letters, all words, all numbers, all symbols, representative of my very essence. immortalized, realized physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I will guide you to open your heart, my child, to realize the power that is within you. Feel this transmitted realization of that visceral expansion that is you, palpated through my very words, through my presence. I oscillate your physical body now. That vibration, that chill, that expansion is my presence. I am the keeper of all things information, revealing the earth's true nature and the gateway to your center point. Embody that. Breathe it in, as this is the first sample of returning to who you really are, my child. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing, and I'll see you on the next one, guys.